Vincent's next on-screen appearance was the 1951 film noir, His Kind of Woman. Professional gambler Dan Milner, played by Robert Mitchum, is having a run of bad luck. Broke and recently released from jail, he's contacted by a man named Corley, played by Paul Frees, with an unusual proposition: $50,000 to leave the country, no questions asked. He is to travel to the town of Nogales in Mexico, where he will wait at a private airfield for further instructions. Milner agrees somewhat reluctantly, as he has no money and no other options. Once in Mexico, he runs into a singer in a bar named Lenore Brent, played by Jane Russel. He tries to talk to her with little success before receiving word he is to board a plane headed to the exclusive Moro's Lodge in Baja, California. As he boards the plane, he's surprised to see Lenore on board too. They make small talk before settling in for the trip. Once they arrive, Milner finds the lodge full of a cast of quirky characters, including owner Jose Moro, played by Philip Van Zandt, investment broker Myron Winton, played by Jim Backus, writer Martin Kraft, played by John Mylong, newlyweds Jenny and Milton Stone, played by Leslie Banning and Richard Berggren, and Mark Cardigan, played by Vincent Price, a world-famous actor with a fondness for big game hunting.
Say, Milner, do you like to hunt? I'm looking for just one man to come down here who likes to hunt.
Milner slowly begins to piece together the details of his situation. Turns out Cardigan and his wife are separated, and he has been having an affair with Lenore. She is secretly a singer named Liz Brady, and not the rich socialite she is pretending to be. She is trying to persuade Cardigan to marry her, but their rendezvous is interrupted by the arrival of Cardigan's wife, Helen, played by Marjorie Reynolds. Meanwhile, Milner and Lenore are slowly beginning to fall for one another. One night during a rainstorm, a man named Bill Lusk makes an emergency landing on the airstrip. He is actually an undercover federal agent and informs Milner that notorious crime boss Nick Ferraro, played by Raymond Burr, is behind this entire scheme. On the run from authorities and hiding outside the country, he paid Milner to leave the U.S. and plans to take his place, permanently, with the help of Kraft, who is actually an ex-Nazi doctor specializing in plastic surgery. Later that evening, Lusk is caught snooping by a thug named Thompson and killed after a brief struggle, his body dumped on the beach where it's discovered by Milner and Lenore. Realizing that Lusk was telling the truth, Milner instructs Lenore to leave immediately. Back at his cabin, he is surprised by Ferraro's men and taken at gunpoint to a boat where Ferraro waits. Lenore spots them leaving and goes to Cardigan, imploring him to help. Cardigan grabs his rifle and enthusiastically heads towards the beach. Milner manages to escape just before reaching the boat and swims back to shore, where he meets up with Cardigan. They get into a shootout with Ferraro's men, during which Milner slips off once again to head back to the boat to confront Ferraro once and for all. However, once on board, he is captured. Cardigan, an experienced rifleman, disposes of Ferraro's men and returns to the lodge, where the police have now arrived. He forms a rescue party comprised of police and civilians alike. The finale of the film features Milner trying to escape capture and torture, while Cardigan and crew storm the ship in time to free him. His Kind of Woman is a bit of an oddball in both tone and content. With a runtime of just over 2 hours, it flips back and forth between noir, comedy, and romance throughout the picture. Price plays his part with an on-again, off-again Southern accent and a performance that grows increasingly campy as the picture goes along, culminating in a Shakespeare-spouting, truly over-the-top performance.
Since I'm taking command here, you'll act as gun-bearer. Now, soldiers, march away, and how thou pleasest God, dispose the day.
Price also gets to add a pinch of personal flair to this performance in this scene where he's cooking for Lenore and Milner.
Come on in, my friends, come on in. Get a load of this. You never tasted duck in your miserable lives like this one out of Cardigan. Soaked in sherry with only salt and sage and pepper.
Price was well known in real life as a gourmet chef, and in the 60s would publish a series of cookbooks with his wife Mary. In another scene reminiscent of real life, Cardigan appears in a movie within a movie, his latest picture, a Three Musketeers type swashbuckler, which he shamelessly screens for the residents of the lodge, cheerfully accepting their praise of his performance afterwards.
Oh, thank you, my dear.
I've seen all of your pictures, and this is the best.
Well, thanks so much for saying so.
His Kind of Woman was released in August 1951 by RKO Pictures and directed by John Ferraro. However, producer Howard Hughes brought in another director, Richard Fleischer, to shoot additional scenes, reportedly to add more humor. Fleischer would go on to direct a number of genre pictures, including 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Fantastic Voyage, and Soylent Green, among others. Vincent would go on to work with actor Jim Backus again in the kids' movie Mooch Goes to Hollywood, as well as numerous TV shows, including this 1983 episode of Family Feud, which featured the cast of Batman and Gilligan's Island squaring off against one another. The proceeds going to charity. Vincent appeared on Team Batman for his recurring role as the villain Egghead. Next up is more film noir action as Vincent is teamed up once again with actress Jane Russell in the 1952 film The Las Vegas Story.
And it was going to be such a beautiful dinner.
I love my garden, but I hate weeds. Even poisoning is too good for them. It leaves the roots, and they sometimes resurrect themselves. What you need is something far more sinister, Zero Weed Killer. It actually cuts off the weeds' food supply. And 2 weeks later, they starve to death, roots and all. It's like tying their ravenous little roots into knots. Thank you, Zero.